buenos días, bienvenidos a todos, colegas, estudiantes, académicos que nos acompañan hoy día en esta actividad tan importante. Esta charla titulada Mujeres en la Medicina Veterinaria, una mirada retrospectiva. Justamente como decía Karen, en conmemoración del Día Internacional de la Mujer. Es un honor para nosotros contar con la participación de una distinguida expositora, la doctora Theresa Fossum, una destacada cirujana veterinaria, reconocida por su vasta experiencia en medicina de pequeños animales, con especial énfasis en la cirugía. A lo largo de su carrera, la doctora Fossum ha sido una pionera en numerosas técnicas quirúrgicas avanzadas y se ha desempeñado un papel fundamental en la formación de nuevos cirujanos veterinarios, influyendo en múltiples generaciones de estudiantes de medicina veterinaria. Además de su destacado trabajo académico, la doctora Fossum es autora de varios libros de texto ampliamente utilizados en el campo de la cirugía veterinaria, que de hecho nosotros también tenemos en nuestras bibliotecas. Estas obras han sido indispensables para la formación y la práctica clínica de veterinarios en todo el mundo. Su compromiso con la innovación y la excelencia en la atención médico-veterinaria ha llevado a la doctora Theresa Fossum a ser reconocida internacionalmente. Ha recibido numerosos premios y honores por su destacada labor, lo que la convierte en una figura influyente y respetada en la comunidad veterinaria a nivel global. Antes de ceder la palabra a la doctora Fossum, queremos aprovechar este momento para saludar a todos y especialmente a todas las colegas veterinarias y profesionales de otras disciplinas que nos acompañan el día de hoy, así como estudiantes y académicos. Es crucial reconocer el papel fundamental que las mujeres desempeñan en el campo de las ciencias y en todas las áreas de la medicina veterinaria. Su dedicación, sus habilidades y sus contribuciones son indispensables para el avance y la excelencia de la profesión. Es por eso que la equidad de género no es solo un objetivo, sino que hoy en día es una necesidad urgente en nuestra sociedad y en nuestra profesión. En la universidad y la facultad estamos comprometidos en promover y apoyar la igualdad de género y dar todas las oportunidades de igual manera, reconociendo talento y capacidad sin importar el género. A través de programas académicos inclusivos, políticas que fomentan la diversidad, estamos trabajando activamente para construir un futuro donde todas las personas, independientemente de su género, puedan alcanzar su máximo potencial. Por ello, esta actividad no solo busca compartir el destacado rol de la mujer en nuestro campo, sino también escuchar y aprender de sus experiencias. Es a través de este diálogo que fortalecemos nuestra comunidad académica y avanzamos hacia una sociedad más justa e inclusiva. Así que nuevamente muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos y ahora sí le cedo la palabra a la doctora Theresa Fossum. Doctora, bienvenida. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos nuevamente.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. I'm honored to have been asked to be a panelist for this session, Empowering Voices, Celebrating Women in Veterinary Medicine, hosted by the University of the Americas in Chile. The theme for my presentation is Women in Veterinary Medicine, Past, Present, and Future. You know, I was in Poland last week, and they too were celebrating International Women's Day there. So it's so nice to see that this International Women's Day is really something that has taken off just about anywhere in the world that you go. And I am so honored to be able to be a part of it. So thank you again. You know, veterinary medicine is a field that has undergone significant transformations in the past few decades. As we're all aware, historically, veterinary medicine was predominantly a male-dominated profession. However, in recent years, there has been a remarkable increase in the number of women pursuing careers in this field. And this shift is worth examining from a scientific viewpoint. So let's look at data from the American Veterinary Medical Association. So in the 1980s, when I graduated from veterinary school, women made up less than 20% of the veterinary workforce in the United States. the profession was predominantly male, and the vast majority of veterinarians were middle-aged to older men. Interestingly, there was a lot of discussion at that time about how women in veterinary medicine would be the downfall of our profession because women wouldn't work. They would stop to have children. And I think there was a great deal of fear in how the profession would change, that it would be a profession that didn't bring in adequate salaries for the amount of education that is required. But by the early 2000s, the gender landscape really had begun to change, and women's participation in veterinary medicine had increased notably. By the early 2000s, about 45% of the profession was female. So let's move up to more recent history. Let's look at 2018. So a mere 5-6 years ago, at that time, it was noted that women accounted for nearly 60% of the veterinary workforce in the United States. So a very significant rise from the 80s, and even a significant rise from the early 2000s. So what are the reasons behind this transformation? And I think it's fair to say that it's multifaceted. One contributing factor is a changing societal perspective on gender roles and equality. You know, I have 2 children, 2 boys, and my husband is a board certified veterinary cardiologist. And so we have both been, during our entire careers, trying to manage our children and our work roles. And the one thing that really allowed me to do that is that I had a husband who was willing to share equally in the responsibilities of taking care of a home and raising our children. And that is incredibly important. I honestly don't know how we do it if this isn't a shared responsibility between the genders. So as there's been an increased awareness and advocacy for gender equality, more and more women are entering male-dominated professions. Well, what about the gender pay gap that we hear a lot about? Well, the data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics indicated that as of 2019, the gender pay gap among veterinarians in the U.S. had significantly narrowed, indicating more equitable compensation. Now, that in part may be due to the fact that in the United States, there is a deficiency of veterinarians currently, and so veterinarians can command a high salary. The other reason is that women have excelled academically in veterinary programs. Data shows that female veterinary students often outperform their male counterparts in terms of academic achievement and graduation rates. The competence and dedication to the profession of women simply can't be denied. Overall, women in veterinary medicine have brought a wealth of skills, perspectives, and qualities that have positively impacted the profession. Our contributions have not only advanced the science and practice of veterinary medicine, but it also made it more inclusive, compassionate, and connected with the communities that we serve. So let's look at a number of factors. The first being diversity of perspective. The increased participation of women in veterinary medicine has brought diverse perspectives to the profession. Our unique viewpoints and experiences have enriched discussions on animal health, welfare, and treatment, leading to more comprehensive and holistic approaches to veterinary care. I think it's safe to say that women veterinarians approached holistic veterinary medicine more eagerly and with more open arms than did male veterinarians. But what about empathy and compassion? Women are often recognized for their empathetic and compassionate approach to patient care. This quality is particularly valuable in veterinary medicine, where understanding and connecting with animals are essential if we're going to provide effective treatment and communication with pet owners. And I think we all recognize that in our profession, the pet owners decide whether or not care is going to be given or not. And so it's very important that we're able to communicate both empathetically and passionately, because that oftentimes convinces our owners to provide the type of care that we would like to give to their pets. Well, another factor would be enhanced communication skills. Women are exceptional communicators, and that is really vital in veterinary medicine. So effective communication with pet owners is what ensures that treatment plans are both understood and followed. And women have an ability to build trust and rapport with clients that really is an asset to our profession. Leadership and advocacy. Women in veterinary medicine have played key roles in leadership positions and advocacy efforts. They've been at the forefront of organizations and initiatives that promote animal welfare, public health, and the advancement of the profession as a whole. Both the CEO and the president of the American Veterinary Medical Association are women currently. As far as research and academic excellence, women have excelled in veterinary education and research, contributing to the advancement of veterinary science. Our academic achievements and research contributions have expanded the body of knowledge in areas including animal physiology, pathology, and pharmacology. Perhaps our greatest contribution, though, to the profession has been that women have been advocating for an improved work-life balance within the veterinary profession. It's very clear when I talk to younger veterinarians that they are not only asking for, but demanding a fair work-life balance. Working 12 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week is no longer what veterinarians, especially the young female veterinarians, want. They want something reasonable. And I really find that to be really spectacular, because it will change our profession, both for males and females, significantly. Our efforts have led to a greater awareness of the importance of maintaining a healthy work-life equilibrium, ultimately benefiting veterinarians of all genders. As I noted, my husband and I shared the workload, but I know that many women do not have that advantage. We are still the primary caregivers for our children and our elderly parents, and that clearly affects our career advancement. So at the very least, we need to be proponents for better childcare, but we need also to reach out to our male counterparts with the expectation that they will share the care of both our children and our elderly parents. As far as community involvement, women in veterinary medicine tend to be active in their communities. We offer educational programs, outreach, and support for animal-related issues. And our involvement has enhanced the profession's connection with the public. And many women veterinarians have become mentors and educators, inspiring the next generation of veterinarians. Their guidance and support contribute to the development of future professionals and ensure the continuity of excellence within the field. Despite these encouraging statistics, challenges persist. Women in veterinary medicine, like in many other professions, continue to face issues such as gender bias, work-life imbalance, and career advancement that does not always match our male counterparts. Scientific studies and surveys have documented these challenges, emphasizing the need for further research and intervention to promote gender equity within the profession. Chile, like in many other countries, has seen an increase in the participation of women in the field. I wasn't able to find a lot of specific information on women in veterinary medicine in Chile, but what I did find is the following. There is increasing female participation in veterinary medicine. Over the past few decades, there has been a significant increase in the number of women entering the field of veterinary medicine in Chile. This trend mirrors the global pattern where women are increasingly enrolling in veterinary programs and joining the profession. As far as educational opportunities, Chile offers various educational opportunities in veterinary medicine, including undergraduate and postgraduate programs. And women have been actively participating in these programs and have been graduating as veterinarians at a similar rate as men, which is fabulous. In terms of professional representation, women veterinarians in Chile are actively engaged in various sectors of the profession, including clinical practice, research, academia, government agencies, and industry. Women in Chile hold positions of veterinary clinics, in hospitals, in universities, in research institutions, in government bodies, and in private companies. And your dean is a woman, which is fabulous to see. While women in Chilean veterinary medicine have made significant strides in entering the profession, there are still some disparities in leadership roles. However, efforts are being made to promote gender equality and diversity in leadership positions within the veterinary profession in Chile. Like in many other countries, women in veterinary medicine in Chile may face challenges such as work-life balance, gender bias, and advancement barriers to career advancement. However, there are also opportunities for women to excel in in various areas of veterinary medicine and contribute to advancement of the profession. Professional organizations that support networks in Chile and that cater to the needs and interests in veterinary medicine have been stood up recently. These organizations may provide networking opportunities, which is extremely important in veterinary medicine. Networking is how women advance in this profession. Mentorship programs are also extremely important, whether they be given by a male or a female. Women and men alike need to be mentored in this profession. Continuing education resources are increasingly being offered and there is increasingly an advocacy for gender equality in the profession. Overall, it's very clear that women in veterinary medicine in Chile play a vital role in the advancement of the profession and the health and welfare of animals. Efforts to promote gender equality and support the career development of women in the field are essential for the continued growth and success of veterinary medicine in Chile. In conclusion, the increasing presence of women in veterinary medicine is a positive and scientifically documented trend. The data show that women have not only entered the profession in large numbers, but they're also excelling academically. However, the journey towards full gender equality in this field is still ongoing. As veterinarians, we must support policies and initiatives that address the unique challenges women face, ensuring that veterinary medicine remains a diverse, equitable, and inclusive profession. In the United States, one of the issues that we are seeing is burnout by veterinarians, and that is leading to a high suicidal rate in our profession, both among men and women, but perhaps more so among women. There is a movement in the United States called Not One More Veterinarian, meaning not one more veterinarian will die from suicide. And I don't know, I was unable to find if that's an issue in Chile, but perhaps it is, and you guys can let me know during the Q&A. For the young women veterinarians or the students that are here, one of the things I get asked is, how did you manage to advance your career? And the thing I would say is, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Many veterinarians, and women in particular, once they become comfortable with a profession, they don't strive to do more. I have always been that person that as soon as I get comfortable, I'm looking for the next thing to challenge me. So please spend your career being lifelong learners. Spend your career looking for new challenges, and don't be afraid to step off into something that is new and may seem a little scary. When I got asked to write the first edition of my book, I was young. I was in my early 30s, and it was a pretty scary thing for me to consider because I didn't think I was really ready. But I decided to go ahead and do it, and it really made my career. So again, step out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And please look for mentors, people who are ready to lift you up as they move forward in the profession. And as women move forward in the profession, we need to lift other women up and make it easier for them. So I will end with that. I want to thank you for your attention, and let us all continue to work together for a more inclusive and equitable future in veterinary medicine. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for inviting me to participate in just another great worldwide event around the International Women's Day. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, doctora. En este momento le envían emoticones, corazones, aplausos. Bueno, comentarles que sus preguntas las pueden realizar a través de este chat y vamos a iniciar la conversación con nuestra decana, Lorena Joffre. Lorena.
Gracias, Karen. Ahí no puedo iniciar el video. No sé si ahí me pueden ayudar para que podamos vernos, pero muchas gracias, Theresa, por la presentación, por tus inspiradoras palabras. Creo que ahí todas las estudiantes, mujeres que nos están acompañando, y por cierto también hay hombres que están muy motivados también con tu especialidad. Y quisiera partir con una primera pregunta que va justamente en esa línea. ¿Cuál fue tu motivación inicial para ingresar a estudiar la carrera de Medicina Veterinaria y para especializarte específicamente en cirugía de pequeños animales? ¿Cómo partió este interés por esta área?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I actually grew up in a ranch. My father was a cattle rancher, and I always loved animals. So I knew that I was either going to do veterinary medicine or become a physician. But veterinary medicine really had my heart. So I applied and was lucky enough to get into veterinary school. But I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated. I still thought that I was going to do large animal, and specifically equine, not small animal surgery, until I was in my fourth year. And this is how important mentors can be. One of my professors came up to me in my fourth year and he said, Terry, I don't know if you've given much thought to what you want to do when you graduate, but I really think you should go do an internship in small animal. You'll get really good training. And then if you decide you still want to do large animal, you can go do that after you've done your 1 year of internship. So I applied. I was lucky to get an internship in a private practice in California. And at that practice, they allowed us to do a lot of surgery, and I just fell in love with it. So then I decided that I was going to apply for surgery residencies. But it wasn't my plan. It was because of mentoring, of caring and kind people that I found my path forward in this profession. So thank you for asking that question, Lorena.
Muchas gracias, Theresa. Carla, ¿también quieres hacer una pregunta a la doctora?
Sí, primero agradecer por su exposición y todo digamos, su experiencia que ha transmitido. Y ahí también consultar respecto a cómo nosotros, o cómo usted, o cómo las mujeres en general que están en cierta posición han logrado de alguna manera éxito, cómo pueden aportar a la igualdad.
That's a really good question. First off, one of the things I've seen throughout my career is that women are not always supportive of other women. And that's something that I think we all can make a conscious decision to say that's not going to be the case. We are not going to be jealous of other women. We are going to be that helping hand, that person who reaches down and pulls other women up. I try to do that. Quite honestly, even when I'm writing, finding new authors, when I'm doing another edition of my book, I look across and I specifically try and find women who are really excelling to be a part of that, because I know that will help their career. But let me tell you, it's not just women. A lot of the really important mentors for me have actually been men. And that was in part because there weren't a lot of women doing what I wanted to do when I started doing surgery. But even outside the profession, for example, I spent a year working for the Secretary of Energy a few years ago because they were developing a science, technology, engineering, and math program. And the Secretary of Energy was a friend of mine, had helped me build a big facility when I was at the university in Texas A&M. And so so I went and worked for him in Washington, D.C. for a year. And he has continued to be a really important mentor for me. So, networks, I don't think, overemphasize how important it is for us to maintain networks of women and men alike to advance in our profession. So, very good question, and thank you for that.
Muchas gracias.
Otra pregunta, Teresa, que nos hacen es, dada tu experiencia, ahí comentabas que habías trabajado en un área de energía que aparentemente no tiene mucho que ver con la medicina veterinaria, pero me imagino que alguna relación tiene, o de alguna manera llegaste ahí. Hay una pregunta que tiene que ver con las áreas emergentes, donde tú ves que la mujer a lo mejor podría tener un valor diferente o una mayor oportunidad de insertarse como médico veterinaria. ¿Qué áreas ves tú que podría la mujer a futuro desarrollarse de manera más destacada o teniendo más oportunidades que el hombre en el corto plazo o mediano plazo?
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind that our profession is rapidly changing. And one of the things we need is we do need, at least in the US, and you guys can tell me if this is true in Chile, we need veterinarians. We have such a shortage. So training veterinarians is really key. You asked about when I worked on STEM for the Secretary of Energy. That honestly, it's just an example of me being willing to step outside of my comfort zone. I didn't know anything about engineering, but I knew a lot about STEM and women in STEM-related programs. And so, that was, again, me stepping out of my comfort zone. In the last 5 years or so, I've actually started my own company selling pet supplements where we feel that there's an unmet medical niche. Right now, I have my company, Dr. Fossum's Pet Care. And then I am CEO of a company called Phoenix Animal Wellness, which is bringing some new plant-based natural products to the marketplace. So again, I do these things because I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy stepping out of my comfort zone and doing something new. Having said that, surgery is my first love and will always be my main love. But the veterinary profession offers so many opportunities for women and men to do other things than clinical practice. Industry is a huge one these days. So I was at a meeting last week, just before I went to Poland. I was at a meeting in London, and it was a animal health technology innovation meeting. And it was wonderful to see the women there. One of the first companies that really spun out some very interesting, high-value products in veterinary medicine was a company called Aratana, and that was done by women. So it was wonderful to see those women at this meeting really leading the charge, even in industry-related opportunities in veterinary medicine. I would love to hear, in the US, there was at least one class at one of the universities that was 100% women, but most veterinary classes are between 60 and 80% women these days. I'd love to hear how that relates to what is going on in Chile.
Gracias, Teresa. Sí, al igual que en Estados Unidos, en Chile también tenemos una mayor proporción de mujeres estudiando la carrera de medicina veterinaria que de hombres. En nuestra universidad, yo me atrevo a decir que alrededor del 70% son mujeres. Y eso ya es hace varios años. Hemos estado con esa inclinación de tener mayor proporción de mujeres en la carrera, a diferencia de otras carreras que tenemos en la facultad, como agronomía, que sigue habiendo una inclinación más masculina por estudiar la carrera.
Yes. And do you separate your practices into small animal and large animal? And if so, do you see more women going into small animal and more men going into large animal or food animal?
En general, nuestra carrera es generalista, por lo tanto, todos los estudiantes tienen que pasar por animales menores y animales mayores. No hay una especialidad dentro de la carrera misma, sino que posterior a terminar la carrera, que dura 5 años, bueno, y algunos un poco más, ahí es donde los alumnos empiezan a especializarse y eligen a optar, digamos, por animales menores o animales o grandes animales. Pero en general, en las prácticas o en las actividades que son más bien extracurriculares, las mujeres también tienen mucho interés por tomar aquellas prácticas en grandes animales, en equinos, en bovinos. También hay mucho interés por parte de las mujeres. No hay una limitación o una inclinación por un área u otra.
And how about professors? Are the professors, so women tend to model what they see and what they're taught. So are the large animal professors, are any of them women, or are they primarily men at this point?
Sí, yo creo que ocurre justamente lo que comentas. En general, en animales mayores tenemos mayor cantidad de hombres, de académicos hombres trabajando. Eso es lo que ocurre. Y hay algunas áreas de especialidad en animales menores que también hay mayor cantidad de hombres, como por ejemplo cirugía, que era algo interesante de escuchar justamente la motivación de haberte especializado y haber trabajado en un área que por lo menos en Chile siempre ha sido más masculina. Pero justamente tratamos de incluir a académicas en esas áreas que son más bien masculinas para, como dices tú, transmitir ese ejemplo, de alguna manera abordar también esos desafíos que la mujer tiene que enfrentar en el mercado laboral, sin duda.
You know, in the U.S., one of the things that we have seen, especially in specialty medicine, is that even in large animal, I would say a higher percentage of the residents and the people who go on to be professors are now women, even in large animal or food animal. So we're seeing that trend change as well, and increasingly seeing women being, racetrack veterinarians or, swine herd health veterinarians. So those barriers are being broken down, but certainly there is still this idea that women can do small animal and, they could do medicine, but they can't do surgery and they can't do large animal. Clearly, that's all starting now to change.
Así es. Gracias, Teresa. Carla, tenías otra pregunta para la doctora.
Sí, sí. Teresa, mencionaste en algún minuto la importancia de la familia y del apoyo de la familia. Si eso no hubiera sido así, ¿crees que hoy día estaría donde estás?
Great question. And I would honestly tell you, I don't think so. I was a faculty member when my kids were young and were in daycare. And my husband and I would both be, at the university hospital working. And 6 o'clock in the evening would roll around and it would be, who's going after the kids? Because we had to go pick them up. And then usually we'd have to bring them back to work because we weren't done taking care of the cases or with rounding, with our teaching, clinical teaching with the students. And so I'd bring the kids back and they would run around in the rounds room while we were doing rounds because I had no choice but to do that. But my husband and I did share that. But it's definitely not easy if you have a husband who doesn't want to participate or you don't have family nearby that can help. Having a career and children is not easy. Both of my boys, interestingly, are physicians. Neither of them went into veterinary medicine, but they both they must have heard my husband and I talking about medicine enough that they liked it, but they thought we worked too hard as veterinarians. I don't think they're going to work any less hard as physicians, but they didn't want to follow in our footsteps.
Ok, y Teresa, ¿y cuáles son sus próximos desafíos?
What are my next challenges? So I am traveling and speaking quite a bit. That's always a challenge because it's like I just got back from Poland on Monday and I'm leaving for South Korea on Wednesday morning. So the traveling is hard. I am working on the 6th edition of my book, which I think is going to be my last one. I'm going to pass it off after this one, but I'm going to try and get that done this year. And then I'm trying to bring these companies up and find international distributors for our products because I think they really, we spend a lot of time trying to get products that really help dogs and are affordable, dogs and cats and are affordable. So I need to really bring those companies forward. So I'm spending a lot of time on that. A great question. Thank you for that.
Muchas gracias,
Teresa. Esperamos que en mayo, cuando vengas a Chile, ahí coincidir para ver si podemos tenerte también en la universidad de manera presencial. Hay otra pregunta y que tiene que ver con tu capacidad de liderazgo. Dice, ¿qué estrategias han sido efectivas para ti para promover el liderazgo de las mujeres en medicina veterinaria y cómo podemos continuar mejorando ese aspecto?
You know, leadership it's a difficult area, I think. And I think that most of the time what we do is we lead by example. So the only way I think to get more women in leadership positions are for the women in leadership positions to invite other women to do the same, to spend time telling them what you do on a daily basis as a leader. So, for example, as a dean, what does a dean do? And, how did you get to that position, which is obviously one of great respect? How did you do that when you were competing against perhaps men who didn't think women should do that? I think we have to, I have always thought, I just view men and women equally. And so I'm quite confident when I'm working around men, and I always have been. But I would have loved in my early years to have had a woman who was in a leadership position that I could have, learned from. And I honestly didn't have that. So again, I think it's women and men, but women that are really teaching other women how to become leaders and instilling that desire to be a leader in them.
Gracias, Teresa. Acá está un comentario de Wendy Cortés que dice que saludos desde Monterrey, México, nos están acompañando también. Y dice, me gustaría saber cuál ha sido el mayor reto en su carrera como veterinaria. Y bueno, y también agrega y dice, me encantaría que usted fuera mi tutora. Así que ahí también lo comenta Wendy de Cortés desde
México. That's very nice, Wendy. Thank you. The biggest challenge I would say has been work-life balance. I'm not good at separating my work life and my home life, and it didn't help that my husband and I had the same profession. We did bring work home a lot, and I think that's partly why our children thought that we worked too much. They felt like it was never ending. So that's a challenge. We do need to figure out how to separate our work life and our home life, especially if we want to have children. That I would say is the biggest challenge that I faced.
Gracias, Teresa. Y la última pregunta que vamos a ir dejando, porque ya estamos en el tiempo, sabemos que la doctora tiene también una agenda muy apretada, con muchas cosas por preparar y hacer. Tenemos un comentario, algunas palabras que te piden. Marian Turrobles se llama ella, y dice: ¿qué palabras motivacionales podrías compartirnos para las mujeres que quieren dedicarse a grandes animales u otras áreas que son más bien masculinas, sabiendo que este rubro está dominado todavía por el género masculino?
So I think the thing, as far as working with large animals, now with the techniques that we have, the drugs that we have for restraint, size is no longer that important. It's really skill. And women are as skillful as men when it comes to procedures, surgeries, etc. So if you take the need for size out of the equation, I think that we're equal. And I think modern medicine has really done that. So large animal, I don't think it's an issue now. Surgery, again, I think it has been predominantly male. There's no physical reason or intellectual reason for that. I think women are as skilled as men in surgery, but I do think one of the things that you will find is true of all surgeons, not just women, is that we're very confident in our decision making. So I go in to a surgery and I see something new and unexpected, I'm still very confident that I can figure it out and do what's right. And I do think that confidence is extremely important for surgeons. Otherwise, it's very easy to get into the operating room and become paralyzed because you don't know what to do next or you're facing something new. So that confidence is something that women need to gain as they enter into some of these areas like surgery, where it's really a requirement to do. I hope that answered your question.
De todas maneras, Teresa, muchísimas gracias. Vamos a mirar ahí qué más dice. A ver, hay una pregunta más, parece. Wow. Claro, dice, hay al parecer una estudiante, bueno, Vanessa, dice: también me encantaría que ella fuera mi tutora, la admiro demasiado. Dice: tengo una pregunta personal, dice, para ella, y dice: ¿qué opina de una persona joven con cáncer de útero, dice, en etapa 3, estudiando esta carrera con todas sus fuerzas? Wow, mucho ánimo, mucha fuerza. No sé si es Vanessa o alguna otra estudiante que está en esa situación hoy en día. Es claramente admirable. Teresa, no sé si quieres mandarles algunas palabras.
Well, first of all, let me say that I'm sorry. I hate the idea that a young person is facing, a serious disease like cancer of any kind. I'm so sorry for that. And the fact that you're continuing your studies is really quite amazing, because I know there must be many times when you just feel like you should give up. So congratulations. I'm very impressed, and I wish you the best. I hope that your mentors and your colleagues are being supportive, because you're going to need that as you go through the program. It's hard enough when you're healthy. So best of luck to you.
Bien, muchas gracias, Theresa, y bueno, le mandamos todos los cariños a Vanessa y mucho ánimo, si es que efectivamente es ella la que está pasando por esa situación. Y bueno, estamos en el tiempo, la verdad es que se nos pasó volando la hora en esta conversación que fue muy fluida, con mucha participación. Hay muchas estudiantes escuchándonos y sin duda van a salir con mucho ánimo, con esa sensación de que pueden hacer muchas cosas en esta profesión, no solamente dedicarse al área de pequeños animales, como hemos conversado durante esta hora. Así que nuevamente agradecerle a la doctora Theresa por haberse hecho un pequeño tiempo en esta gran agenda que tiene de muchos viajes, como nos comentaba. Esperamos verla prontamente acá en Chile para poder escucharla ya desde el escenario de su especialidad, que es la cirugía. Y agradecemos también a todos por haber tomado un tiempo y haber querido también acompañarnos en este día en donde conmemoramos justamente el Día Internacional de la Mujer. Muchas gracias a todos.